Father, Lord, we want to thank you for an opportunity like this again. Thank you for keeping us from our last village meeting up to this time again to have another time of learning and receiving knowledge. Pray that as we learn this evening, our lives will be transformed, our mindset will be changed, and we'll become better persons. In Jesus' name, amen. So we are all welcome once again. This is TVA. TVA is Village Meeting. TVA is an organization that seeks to transform and help young people to grow. The idea of TVA is short for the Vanguard Africa. So the Vanguard Africa seeks to help people to grow, to become better members of society, to help people to become better leaders, because we believe that we are building leaders, we are training leaders. And so wherever you find yourself, whether you are holding a position or you're just part of your community, we believe that you can become a leader where you are. So the Vanguard Africa seeks to help equip young people for that purpose, so that wherever you find yourself, you can be a very useful member of society. Okay. I'm sorry. Am I audible now? Please, as we go on with the meeting, in case you can't hear me or there's any issue, just use the chat box to let me know. Thank you, Vanguard Oluwapemi. So I was saying the Vanguard Africa is an organization that seeks to build young people, help every participant to become better members of society and to become better leaders. So that's the whole idea. And the Vanguard Africa achieves this through different means. One of them is masterclass. We have the village meeting, which we are doing now. We do that every week, every Saturday by 4 p.m. And through skill up platforms, through skill up programs that you can just be part of and get so much value from. So let me quickly announce, I'm sure we can all see it on our screen. It's being shared: Becoming Global, Mindset, Capacities and Opportunities. So that's a masterclass that is going to be coming up starting ending of this month through till next month. So just for your information. And today, which is our village meeting, we're going to be looking at a book. We're going to be reviewing a book. We started our financial series in this month. We started from last week. We're looking at, we looked at a book for the past 2 weeks, The Richest Man in Babylon by a man named Classen. But for this remaining part of the month, that's this week and next week, we'll be looking at another book. So I'll start out with the first, and Babatunde will continue. But before then, there was a backlog from last week, a question that answered, but the whole answers to those questions were not set at the moment. So I'll give the floor, but like I've said, just bear it in mind, we're actually reviewing a book for today's session, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I hope I got that name right. Let me see if I got the name right. Yes, Robert Kiyosaki. I want to be very exact. Robert Kiyosaki. So please, I'll just give the floor now. There's something about borrowing that was being spoken about in the last class. So we are going to give room for that to be answered at the moment. So please, can I get the name now? Let me check. Yes, Tofarati, Vanga Tofarati, please. The floor is yours. Vangato Farati, are you in the house?
Yes, thank you, Vanga Solomon. Good evening, everybody. I trust we are all doing great. So last week our facilitators reviewed these 4 chapters of The Richest Man in Babylon, but we were not able to conclude it last week. And one of the chapters titled The Gold Lender of Babylon, it was reviewed, and they led to questions that we were not able to finish last week. So this time around, I would just want to ask us if just 2 questions. We have limited time to do that, please. And I need our response on this. So as a lender, why did you find it difficult to repay the money you owe to the borrower? Last week when we were reviewing chapter 6, we saw that Mason advised us not to just throw away our money, not to just give people our money like that. We have to be wise, we have to be cautious about it. So now I want to ask us this question, that as a lender, and no one in it, one time or the other, one of us would have been someone that, collected money from somebody. As a lender is someone who borrows money from somebody else, who collects money from a borrower. So as a lender, why did you find it difficult to repay the money you owe to the borrower? Another question is, are there instances where a person can say no to probably borrowing a friend or a family member money? And does it make the borrower look like a bad person? I need our contributions on this. We have just a few minutes to do this. Please, let's raise our hands up if you have something to say, please. I don't got the question. One of the questions is, as a lender, why did you find it difficult to repay the money you owe to the borrower? And the second one is, are there instances where it is right to say no to borrowing somebody money or something? And does it make someone look bad? Does it make you a bad person? Please, we have a few minutes. Kindly raise up your hands if you have anything to say. Thank you.
Hi, Tofarati. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, ma.
So I feel like it would be more useful if we sort of provide a background, right, as to how we got to this point. So yes, we started the financial literacy series, and we had reviewed the book The Richest Man in Babylon. So one of the chapters, if I am correct, one of the chapters that we reviewed was, spoke about lending and borrowing, right? And the things that you have to consider, when you want to lend someone money, right? Yes. So if you can just do a very brief 1-minute recap as to what, that book said on that point, because that was what now led us to, that conversation around, why people borrow and they don't return, and whether you should lend people money. And I'm not sure people on this call want to talk about how they borrowed money and they did not return it, or why they didn't return it. I guess the question would be, have you lent someone money before? I know we already sorted the issue of, if you have ever borrowed money from someone, make sure you return it. We did that last week, but I think the point I want us to, because we have a fuller house now, the point I want us to discuss really is, have there been times where you lent people money and they failed to return? Why did you find it difficult to ask for your money, or did you actually ask and did the person still refuse to pay? How did that make you feel? What lesson can you draw from that experience? Do you still think that people can come and ask for money and you still lend them? Is that something you still want to do, given the experience you had previously? So that's what I want us to talk, because people had a lot of things to talk about last week, but there was not enough time. So that's why I thought we should wrap that up now before we move to the next book. But if people don't have anything to say as well, we might as well just move on. So Tofarati, please, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Very much, ma'am. Okay, so last week we reviewed chapter 6, and the title of chapter 6 is the Gold Lender of Babylon. In that chapter, the author introduced us to Radon, a spear maker in Babylon, a very famous one at that. So he was just gifted 50 pieces of gold, and he was confused, he was perplexed, he didn't know what to do with that money. Then he strode into the shop of Mathon, who was the gold lender of Babylon. And then Mathon asked him, why are you confused and all of that? And then Radon replied, he said, many people want to share this money with me. I really don't know what to do with this money. Then he said his sister's husband also wanted to borrow that money and that to become a very prosperous merchant. Then Mathon said, if you really want to borrow your brother-in-law these 50 pieces of gold, then you need to ask him, what does he really want to use the money for? What's the purpose? Like, what purpose does he want to use the money for? And if you can answer that question, then ask him, where can he get the raw materials at a very low price in order to start his business? Then if you can answer these questions right, then you can borrow him the money. But if not, then do not borrow him the money. And one thing Mathon also drew attention to is the fact that as someone who wants to borrow somebody gold or money, you have to ask for security for the repayment of the loan. That as a gold lender, your money is your money. And you have to be sure that you are not just giving this person your money in vain. There has to be something that will stand for the fact that he will repay that money back, something he really treasures the most. And for him, the safest type of loan is the one whereby a person who comes to your shop or who comes to you to borrow something from you, if the person gives up the most valuable possession in exchange for the loan. So you make sure that you don't just give money. It's better to be wise about it. This chapter just teaches us to be wise in handling money. It teaches us how to be wise in our relationship with people, because when you have money, definitely people will come to you to ask for money. But how do you make sure you don't just give your money away in vain? In fact, his advice was that it's better to waste your money on extravagant things than to just give someone your money and, it will cause sadness. When you see the person, you're always sad and all of that. So now we want to ask that, and we want people to please contribute. That when did you, or have you ever been in a position whereby you borrowed somebody money and the person refused to return your money back? Why did you find it difficult to ask the person for your money? And what lesson did you draw from that experience? We want to learn from ourselves. Like, this series basically is just to teach us how to be wise, and we learn from other people. We can learn from you. Your contribution will matter a lot. Please, let's say something. Why did you find it difficult to ask someone for your money when in fact you borrowed the person your money and that is your money? Right? So why did you find it difficult? And what lessons can you share with us that will help us in our own subsequent dealings with other people too? Please, if you have something to say, kindly raise up your hand and we'll call you. Have you ever been a lender? Have you ever been a borrower? Please share with us your experience or one or two things you think we ought to know in our dealing with other people. Okay. Does anyone have anything to say? Okay, so in summary or in conclusion, I just want us to be wise in handling our money. And the richest man in Babylon just teaches us that ways we can maintain our wealth, and we can also multiply our wealth, our riches. So in order not to just give your money away for anyone to just use and squander, it's better for us to be wise in giving people our money. Okay, Vanguard Pimi says, from lending out money, one thing I have learned is to only borrow out what I can give. Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was the response we also got last week. Only give out what you can give in order to avoid any issue or conflict in future. Don't, if it's going to be your family or your friend, it is not bad to help. This book doesn't teach us not to help. It is not saying we should not borrow people completely, not to help people or assist people, but it's just better to do it in a way that is very safe and reasonable. Only give out what you can give. That's my advice to us, to people on the call. Only give out what you can give, because you don't want to give somebody your money and the next thing is you are sad. When you see the person, you just begin to aid the person and that. Please, let's just give out what we can give. And I also advise us to read this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It is a very great book and we can learn a lot from this book. Thank you very much. Over to you, Vanguard Solomon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vanguard Tofarati. Unfortunately, probably because this team is low, last week after the whole reviewing of the books, everybody was, eager to speak, probably because we're just starting. So as we go further, we'll have question and answer session. In case you still want to say something, please, you can still raise up your issue. And like Vanguard Tofarat has already said, the book we reviewed for the last two, we just mention it in the chat box so I know that I'm talking and everybody's hearing. So the book we reviewed last was The Richest Man in Babylon. And get it. And also this book we are reviewing starting today, please try and read these two books. One of the things I've learned from both books is that having money does not make you wealthy, but having financial intelligence is what does. So that you have, I'm not seeing any response. Am I audible? Am I audible? Please let me know if I'm audible so that I can go on. All right. Thank you. So one of the things you'd discover is, for instance, you're giving a huge amount of money, say 10 million naira. How do you handle that? We have seen people who won lottery, they won huge amounts of money in dollars, millions of dollars, and after some years they became poor again. So if money makes you wealthy, why did they become poor? But because money does not really make you wealthy, but your ability to master and handle it is what does. That's what these two books actually teach, and you learn in details. So the book we're reviewing today is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and some might think Richest Man in Babylon has a setting for ancient times, where Richest Man in Rich Dad and Poor Dad has a more contemporary setting. But you discover that the truths from Richest Man in Babylon can also be found in Rich Dad Poor Dad. In fact, the author, that is Robert Kiyosaki, in fact mentioned the book in his own book too. He made reference to it. So it's a very, very powerful book that has helped a lot of people in time past and is still going to keep helping people, as many as apply the principles from it. So moving on to Rich Dad Poor Dad properly now. The backlog of, before I go to chapter 1, the backlog of chapter 1 has an introduction by Sharon L. Letcher. She's an accountant, and one of those days she was having a discussion with her son. He was already tired of school. He was bored. I'm sure we all can relate to that feeling where you're just tired, so many assignments, and you're wondering, is all this stress worth it? So he was trying to convince his mom that going to school is useless because there are many people who dropped out of school and yet are very wealthy, are very rich. But of course, as a parent, when your child tells you something like that, you would want to convince him that what he's saying is wrong. But her child was able to prove to her that he's not wrong, that indeed there are those who didn't go to school and yet are successful. So going to school is not a necessary requirement for success. So she tried to convince him, and the discussion ended there, but it stayed in her heart, and she kept talking about it with her husband. So her husband is a lawyer, and he works with a law firm in Washington, D.C. So one day, Robert came to his office to patent his work. It's actually a game. The game is more like Monopoly. For those of us who have played the game Monopoly, you might have a fair understanding of how the game cash flow looks like. So he wanted to patent that game, and upon trying to patent it, her husband discovered that it's something that's very interesting and something that she might have an interest in. So he called her and told her about the game. So she decided to go and try out the game. So during the trial, she took one of her daughters, and she discovered that they would learn a lot from it. Anybody that plays the game will actually learn financial intelligence from it. And so she called him over, that's Robert, to her house. They decided to have a family dinner with him. And that was where the issue of this book rose up, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I guess that's why she decided to do a forward for him, or an introductory part for him. So in the book. So the book is about the fact that if you go to school, it does not mean you have learned how to handle finance. So that's one of the main points this book is actually trying to drive home, that in schools, they don't teach you how to handle your finance. They only teach you how to become a professional. They only teach you how to become skillful, but they don't teach you how to handle money, which is one of the bad aspects of schooling. That's why you find a lot of people very intelligent, very brilliant. They come out of school, but they don't know what to do with themselves as far as finance is concerned. And so they keep working for those who know how to handle money, which I'm sure everybody wants to be a master of themselves. Everybody wants to be wealthy and know how to handle money for themselves. Nobody wants to actually slave for another person. There's this joy that comes in having something that is yours and you are making money from it. So that's what this book is all about, teaching you how to master handling money. So in chapter 1, Robert tries to talk about two dads. He has two fathers. Now, one is his biological father. The other is, for the sake of this book, an adopted father. And also that second dad actually helped him a lot in life. So the first dad has a particular mindset. He's a very intelligent man. That's his own biological father. Very intelligent, went through school and was able to complete a 4-year course in 2 years because of how intelligent he was. But his rich dad did not go beyond 8th grade. Yet his rich dad, when he was dying, left about over $10 million for his family as inheritance. Whereas his brilliant dad, which is his biological dad, left nothing. In fact, he left debts while he died. So showing the difference. So what he's trying to say was trying to, decipher between the two parents. That's the first dad and the second dad. That, yes, one is intelligent. He went to school and he showed great and remarkable ability to comprehend things, but because he didn't have financial intelligence, he suffered a lot, So both were actually successful in their careers. His dad, his biological dad, was a successful man in his own career, but he just did not know how to handle money. Whereas the other man too that's the second dad, was also successful in his career, but he knew how to handle money. And so the difference is clear in the lives of both parents. So he tried to draw that distinction between the two dads, that one succeeded because he knows how to handle money. And so there are 6 things he wants us to learn from his rich dad, which he himself learned from his rich dad and is now passing across to us. And so those 6 points is what we'll be looking at over the course of the book. So the first point is, the rich don't work for money. The rich don't work for money. Point 2 is, why teach financial literacy? It's a question. Why teach financial literacy? Then number 3, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Number 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporation. The history of taxes and the power of corporation. Then number 5, the rich invent money. The rich invent money. And number 6, work to learn, don't work for money. Work to learn, don't work for money. So I'll be taking chapter 2 now. Chapter 2 actually looks at the first point, which is the rich don't work for money. The rich don't work for money. So if you've been listening to what I've been saying, I said it's the mindset of the two dads that separated them, that differentiated them. One dad thinks in a particular way, and that's why he's poor. The other dad thinks in a particular way, and that is why he's rich. So the first thing that you want to learn is that those who are rich actually don't work to get money. They don't work to get money. What they do is they allow money to work for them. They allow money to work for them. So he gives a story because, it's a personal experience, a life that he lived. And from that life, he was able to learn. So it's from his life is giving us, lessons that we can learn. So when he was 9, he saw some of his friends going out for a vacation with their family. And he just reached out that he wanted to join them. And they told him he could not join because he was poor. And so he went to his dad and asked his dad, how can I be rich? So the dad was surprised and was like, why are you asking such a question? So he narrated the experience to him, and his dad told him that, okay, the only way you can become rich is to learn how to make money. So the next obvious question is, how do I make money? So that was what he asked his dad, and his dad could not actually give him an answer because he does not know how to. So that's where the journey started. Since the dad had said, you have to learn how to make money, he and his friend, Mike, decided to come up with a plan on how they will make money. And they took his dad literally. They decided to find a way to make money. And of course, that's counterfeiting. So when the dad found out, he called them and talked to them that act is illegal. So they need to think of other ways that way cannot work. But he left them with a final advice, which will lead to their moving forward in this journey of learning how to make money. He told them that they can meet Mike's father. Now, Mike's father and there's Robert's father, they have the same bank manager who manages their accounts. So Robert's father had learned that Mike's father was actually doing well in corporation, doing well in business, and he knew how to make money. So that was the advice. They should go and meet him to learn from him. And so they both went to meet Mike's dad, and Mike's dad made them an offer that they will actually have to learn practically, that he's not going to teach them the way they teach in schools, that is not his style. So they will have to learn practically, and for them to learn, they would have to work for him, and he'll be paying them a particular little amount of money. So he was trying to teach them that the rich don't work for money, right? But to get them to the point where they will actually learn that concept, he had to keep drawing them, luring them. So he decided to give them a hard task and pay them very little. So after a while, Robert got very tired, was frustrated. Why would you be paying me 10 pence for a work that is, so bulky? So he was angry, and at the point he became angry and tired and told Mike that he was going to stop. Mike laughed and said his dad actually told him that they were going to get to that point where they were going to be tired. But when they get to that point, they should come and meet him and talk with him again. So they decided to have a talk again with Mike's dad on the whole issue. And Mike's dad now showed them, was not trying to explain. And, because they have had the experience of what he was trying to say, how life throws you around, how you keep working for little. That's the state that nobody is satisfied with. So he was trying to show them that nobody should actually be satisfied with that kind of life where you work for a particular pay. You don't get to do certain things that you want to do with your life. And what they're paying you is not even enough. Sometimes you want a raise, you want a salary increase. You're going back again to see how you can talk with your boss. And it's just like a petty life, So he was trying to show them that that's not the way to live like that. But if you don't allow that anger to be stirred up in you, you will not be forced to look for alternative means or better means of making money. And so since he had gotten Robert and Mike to that point, he could now teach them the lesson he wanted to teach them, which is the rich don't work for money. They make money work for them. So he now told them that, okay, now what he's going to do is he's not going to pay them at all, but they should be working. Of course, Robert got very angry. What are you saying? I was complaining that the money you were paying before was little. So now you're saying you're not going to pay me at all. And said, yes, that but that is sure they are going to learn. And they decided to go ahead. So as they kept working, they now came to a point where they saw an opportunity. Comic books were not being produced again. They had come to a year where they stopped producing comic books, but there were a lot of comic books that had not yet been read. So there was a drop off at that shop where they were working, the place where they were working. They were working in a store, and they just used to dust some cans in that store. So there's a person that keeps dropping comics in that place. So they asked the man that, this comics, is it free? He said yes, but they're not permitted to sell, and they're not permitted to sell it. So they said, okay, they came up with a plan that they'll put the comics in a particular room, and it will be like a library. You pay 10 pence to come into the room to read. Comics just for 10 pence, as many as you want. So people took up the opportunity, and before you know it, they started to make a lot of money from that. And then they now learned that lesson that was Mr. Mike's father was trying to teach them, which is the rich don't work for money. So they were able to come up with an idea, even though they were not being paid anything. They were able to come up with an idea that brought them money, right? So that's the lesson he was trying to teach. So even in let me just even summarize everything up with 3 things I learned from this part before I hand over to Vanguard Babatunde to take over. That, and I already said this before, money will not make you wealthy. It's financial intelligence that will make you wealthy. So you can have a huge amount of money and still not know how to handle it. Now, the rich don't work for money. They allow money to work for them. And if there's no money in their hand, they become creative. What are other ways I can use to bring money into my hand? How can I use my skill? How can I use my orientation? How can I use something I have to get money into my hands? And another thing I learned from this whole story is that when you look hard, you always find opportunities. Nobody's actually your problem. Your boss is not your problem. The person you are working for, the organization you're working for is not your problem. Your problem is that you're not looking out for opportunities, and opportunities are everywhere, coming to us every day. We're just not looking hard enough. So the more you look, the more you see it, and be able to find a way to make money. So these are some of the things you grab from chapter 1, chapter 2 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Vanguard, Babatunde will be taking us through chapter 3 and chapter 4, and then we'll open the ground for contribution and questions. Vanguard, Babatunde, please, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Vanguard Faith, can you quickly check that you can hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Vanguard Faith, for that. I want to say thank you to TVA for taking this paramount decision to teach about financial literacy. I mean, they've taught us to be good individuals, wonderful leaders, great workers, and great employees in the future. And it's important that we know how to manage our money when the time comes. So Vanguard Faith has spoken about chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm going to be speaking about chapter 3. Sorry, at the point, I think Vanguard Faith made a mistake. I would quickly love to correct about the chapterization. I think he mistook the lessons Robert listed for the chapterization. So the lessons from the book are: the rich do not work for money. There are 6 lessons, and the book has 9 chapters. The rich do not work for money. Why teach financial literacy? The history of taxes and power of corporations. The rich invent money and work to learn. They are just the 6 lessons. They are not the chapters. Okay, now let's quickly go to chapter 3, where I'm going to be starting from. Why teach financial literacy? Robert started this chapter by making a reference to a particular meeting that happened in 1923 between a group of businessmen and great leaders. In fact, we call them the greatest businessmen and greatest leaders. And I think the meeting happened in Chicago. So 25 years later, he looked back to the lives of those men that were at the meeting. You mean when they said some people were the greatest businessmen at the point, it's just like saying they are the Dangotes and $40 as at 1923 when they held the meeting. So as at 25 years after, most of them have had a mysterious and unencouraging, or let me say depressing ending. Some died penniless, like without any money. Some went to prison, some committed suicide. What else again? Some were depressed, some had depression and all. And Robert was not able to put a point to what actually caused those unfortunate to fall on those men. But he said maybe it was due to the Great Depression and the market crash that happened in 1929, if I'm not mistaken. So the Great Depression and the market crash. So, and he's not explaining that that was just one Great Depression and market crash, but then there are more uncertainty in our own reality than in the 90s. For example, now we had the Ebola strike at a point and it's stuck on the economy. We had the COVID-19 virus that actually caused a lot of companies to downsize, like in a very scary way. And we've had inflation rapidly in the world economy continuously for the past like 5-6 years. We've had a lot of crash, for example, cryptocurrency crash. At a particular time, Bitcoin was on $60,000, and currently Bitcoin is struggling to maintain $23,000 to $27,000. It's around $25,000 last time I checked. So there are a lot of uncertainties. So what he's not trying to explain is that if those people had money then, as at 1993, they were the greatest businessmen, the wealthiest, and they can still go bankrupt, they can still be depressed. That shows that money is not the problem. So it's not the solution to the problem of wealth. Having money is not the solution. It's good to have money, but it's never the solution. So he's not explaining that we need financial literacy. That's financial literacy that is going to actually sustain us. It's financial literacy that going to make people understand that they don't need to focus all their energy on money, but they need to put their focus on how money is going to help them survive. So financial literacy is going to make people become flexible, and they will not be swept away by the problems of finances. So he gave a particular rule to build wealth on strong financial literacy. Before I go for that, he explained that getting wealth, accumulating wealth without financial literacy is like building an empire state building on a poor foundation, not deep enough, not wide enough. So the building may look very beautiful at the start, but the reality is that this foundation will not be able to sustain it, so the building will crash. So he's not saying that if you have the right financial literacy on and you build your wealth on it, you're going to be building an empire state building on the perfect foundation. So he gave a particular rule that will help us to build wealth on the strong financial literacy. And he explained it to be that you must differentiate between an asset and liabilities, and you must buy assets and at all costs avoid liabilities. He said this is one and only rule that will help you become wealthy. It is important that rich acquire assets, while the poor and the middle class acquire liabilities, thinking that they are assets. Now, let us quickly have a dive into what assets and liabilities are. Robert explained that assets, in very simple terms, that assets are anything that bring money to your pocket, while liabilities are anything that take money out of your pocket. But now this explanation is actually different from what you will get when you want to apply for loan in a bank. If you go to a bank to apply for loan and you are asked to actually list your asset or to put down your asset so that they can have a valuation of how much or what and how much you can get, they will be expecting you to talk about the executive SUVs you have, the luxury houses that you have, the Maybach, your art collections, your research collections, and things like that. So that definition is very different from what Robert Kiyosaki was explaining to be assets under financial literacy. So assets under financial literacy are things that bring money to your table and not things that take money away from them. So the poor people go around following the definition of the bankers and other loan givers or other credit facilities, facility companies, that assets are things that are very expensive, things that are luxurious. So they go around with that orientation and they keep buying those things. For example, now, let's say the reality is that, let's say a middle class man, he makes quite a lot of money, and what he has been buying is buying Range Rover 2021, 2022, 2023, buying Porsche, trying to just get them. The reality is that those assets that he believes he's acquiring will actually hand him, they will start eating him alive, because they will require maintenance, they will require, no matter what you're even doing with those cars, let's even say you're using them for Uber, they will continue to require constant maintenance, you have to be filling them. So they will be collecting money from your bank, and in most cases, they will not be giving money. And the reality is that most of these luxuries that we think they are assets, they lose like 25% of their value when we purchase them. For example, cars, for example, wristwatches. Once you bring them out of their carton and you wear them, they lose like 25% of their this value. But for example, now if someone has, let's say, a blocks of shops and it makes, let's say, 5,000 around every shop every month, and he has 10 of them, that's what we should actually see as assets, because they will keep bringing money to his table and it's going to require very little for maintenance. Because the reality is that most times in real estate, when you give out a building, the person that is responsible for the maintenance of that building is usually the person that is staying in that building. The lessee, yes, is the one that is actually is the one that is actually in most cases responsible for the maintenance of that building. So, for example, I cannot be staying in a house and the bulb will be bad, and I'm still going to call my landlord. I would fix it myself. So it requires little or no maintenance. So Robert Kiyosaki explained to us. Let me check. Robert Kiyosaki explained to us that we should, at all costs, try and acquire assets and avoid liabilities. I'm trying to check my notes. So it further explained that the rich get richer because their income is greater than their expenses and their asset is greater than their liability. So that's the major reason why the rich get richer. Their income is greater than their expenses and their asset is greater than their liability. Now, there are a lot of people that would, I don't know if you know anyone, but most of us would have heard from our parents, heard from our maybe uncles that they are not being paid enough and they need to be paid better. The government is not paying enough and the money is too small. Personally, for me, I'm not an advocate of increasing minimum wage like that, because I feel like it's another way of pumping money into the economy. And the reality is that if the economy is not perfect, we will just keep pumping money and you end up like Zimbabwe. So that's by the way. So when the rich make money, when they have their income coming, they try as much as possible that their expenses does not match the income, it's below the income. And their asset column is greater than their liability. When we have an uncle that says they want more pay, and when he eventually gets more pay, especially the people in the middle class, when they get more pay, let's say he's earning 100,000, and say, no, he wants more pay, and God answered his prayer, he's not being paid 150,000. Subconsciously, if the uncle does not have a perfect financial literacy, from wearing a suit of 30,000, you'll be like, I've tried, I have worked hard. Sorry that I'm speaking here, but I want to relax. I want to enjoy myself. I've lived. So we'll go for that to get a suit, let's say a suit of 100,000 naira, we'll get a shoe of, let's say, 40,000 naira. And that's the thing with the right financial literacy. You keep believing that you keep spending money you've not earned. So you'll be like you will pay part of it now, and next month's salary will balance it. So he has incurred an expenses of like 170,000. And this is the way these expenses work. Once you incur, you're wearing a suit of 100,000, you're wearing a shirt of 40,000, and you're going for a meeting. You feel like, shit, I will now wear this beautiful suit and this gorgeous shoe, and I will be running after downfall. I will be running after corporate. No, you want to order Uber. These are the things you've actually not entered, the realities you've not entered. So you order Uber to and fro and all. So you've increased your expenses. But someone with the right financial mindset, I once had a friend, he's not on this call. He read this book before he got admitted. What my friend did is that anytime he gets an extra money for the month, he makes sure that the money is off the radar. So that way, it does not subconsciously increase his expenses, and it does not subconsciously increase his liabilities because he has the right financial literacy and is intentional about it. So we should always try when we make extra money. Extra money is not the solution to most of our financial problems. Once we make the extra money, once it comes in, we should try our possible best to make sure our liabilities do not even come up and our expenses do not come up. The only thing that should come up should be our assets. So the summary of that is that when you make extra money, invest extra into your asset column. If you've been using 10% of your salary to buy stuff before, and you're making another like 20% increase, push the amount of your money that is going into the stock to be around let's say 15, 17%. That way, you will not be able to think of increasing your liability or expenses. I'm not saying it's a bad thing for us to reward ourselves by luxuries, but then by getting luxury occasionally, but sometimes we just need to build the best portfolio, the best asset column first. And the asset column will actually they will be responsible for every other luxury we want to get. Someone that has 2 houses, or let's say blocks of shops, and is making like 1 million naira every year, and it keeps expanding. And let's say in 2 years, he's making like 5 million naira on each block. It should not be hard for that person to get a car of 5 million naira because he knows perfectly that the shops will pay the fueling, they will pay for the servicing, the blocks will do everything, the shops will do everything that they can need. So let's quickly go to the chapter 4. Chapter 4 is saying mind their business. Can anyone hear me? Am I still being audible?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
still being
Go
audible. Please type in your comment section that mind your business. Please type in the comment section that mind your business. Please type in the comment section that mind your business. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So mind your business, and this dispensation does not, sorry, in this chapter does not mean that Vanguard, Noah did not greet me. Mr. I'll mind my business. I will stay on my own. I will not even DM me. I shall be used to post. I will not. That's not the mind of things we're talking about. Okay. Robert actually started with he started by giving an example of Recur having a business meeting with some people. Sorry, having a meeting with some MBA students, and he asked them one question at that particular time. I'm trying to find the question. Yeah, sorry, he's the founder of McDonald's, so they were outside. So he asked them one question that, okay, what do you guys think my business is? So everybody laughed about it. What's this man saying? You're the CEO of McDonald's now. They didn't answer. So he asked again for emphasis that, what do you guys think my business is? And they explained that. Someone answered that everybody knows that you're into making hamburger. Excuse me. So then he said, that's what I expected you to call my business, but that is not my business. My business is real estate. That he makes hamburger, but he's so much interested in the real estate that they get by selling the franchise for McDonald's, like by selling McDonald's franchise, the real estate they get that is actually his own business. The company's business is selling hamburger, but his own business is real estate. And McDonald's even is the highest owner of real estate in the world current as at the time the book was written. And according to Robert, they even have more real estate than the Catholic Church. Now, Robert gives some other analogy. He said analogy. He said when he asks people that what was your business, they will say, I'm a banker, and you ask them, do you own the bank? They will say no. That means banking is not their business. Banking is their profession. So we need to draw a line between what our business is and what our profession is. I am a lawyer, but working for Kunle and Toby law firm is just my profession as a lawyer. My business should be something else. If I do not own the law firm, except you own the law firm, that's when you can say law is my business, except you own the law firm. If you do not own the law firm and you are into other things, maybe you're into investing, you're into stocks, that is your business. And I'm not trying to, the book is not trying to say that we should not be good employees, we should neglect the works of our employers and no, we should actually keep those daytime work, according to Robert. We should give attention to those daytime works very well. But at the other end, we should invest in what is going to be our business. Imagine there is a downsizing in where we work. Let's say for the bank, let's say the bank, for example, they decided to downsize. That is where you realize that the banking, going to that bank in the morning is not your own business. It is the business of the top shareholders of Zenith Bank. They're the ones that own the business. Your own business is whatever is going to sustain you. If the bank stop paying you, if the bank stop giving you salaries, if you stop being a staff of the bank, or if the bank cannot afford to pay you full salary for the next few months, what is going to sustain you? That is what your own business is going to be. And he explained that while he was doing his own work, he was at the same time buying stock. His business was stock and his business was real estate. So we also try to look for things that can actually become our business, because that is what is going to give us financial security. And he gave example of some things that can actually be our business. He said stocks, mentioned bonds, mentioned income generating real estate. Income generating real estate, not that you just build one house in your village, one mighty building, and you lock it with like 10 padlocks. Income generating real estate, royalties from intellectual property such as music, scripts, and patents, mutual funds, then notes into brackets, IOU, businesses that do not require our presence. You own them, but they are managed and controlled by other people. So businesses like that is one of my friend has a viewing centers. He got the TVs, he got the TVs, he got the decoders, he got the fans, the chairs, and everything. So the deal is that at the end of every week, where there is a match on the weekend, whether there are Premier League matches or Champions League matches, at the end of every week, he must be paid 7,000 naira. So that is his own business. Yeah, he still goes to work, he still has a job, but that is side. What looks like that side of his business. And there are people that do it too in laundry business, laundering too. They'll just have the shop and get the facilities and you just pay them at the end of the month a particular amount. So then one more thing I want to say is that while we are trying to build our business, we should always try to make sure that money goes into the business every time we make money. And the money that goes into the business, we should see it as a staff. That's the way money work for you. So we should see it as a staff that is going to work for us. Once the money goes in, we should try our possible best to make sure that the money does not go out. So at the end of the day, when the asset column has grown so well, every luxury that we want, like I said, we'll be able to attend and we'll be able to get them, we'll be able to afford them. Thank you very, very much, everyone. I'm going to be stopping here because of our time. Over to you, Vanguard. Faith.
All right, thank you so much. Apt and educative. Thank you for making the book something we can actually relate with. Thank you so much. For now, for contributions and questions, And because of time, I would just probably give the first person the platform to speak, the ground to speak. So if in case you want to make a contribution or you want to, before we continue, the floor is open, please. Quickly, we don't have much time. Is there ask a question, give a contribution to everything we've reviewed this evening? And you'll be given the chance to do so. And earlier on, we also, guess that's what's on your mind too. The platform is open for that. Okay, if no one has a question, I have a teaser. Okay. Yeah. Amarachi. Can you unmute yourself and speak, Amarachi? Amarachi.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for this session. It was very, very impactful. Financial literacy, it's a very impactful section today. Well, okay, I have a question to ask. So, you're talking about in case of, okay, so I'm running, I'm working on insurance, like in terms of selling insurance and the rest of that. But now I have the money that is coming in, there's very lot of expenses in school, and I'm trying to indulge in savings. So I don't know in terms of saving and in financial literacy, because the speaker was putting effort on talking about generating assets, then can I count savings as part of my assets, or I should better still look for other investment platforms?
Okay, very nice question. Thank you so much, Amarachi. Let me give the room to someone to respond to that. Since that I won't be the one to say it, but if there's no one to speak, then I'll go ahead. So is there anyone that wants to actually respond to that?
Vanguard, Faith, can I go on?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, the thing is, saving is like a preliminary for us. And I think you mentioned that, okay, let me just say it this way, saving is like a preliminary. And saving should just be a culture that we'll cultivate subconsciously. Just like the way when you make your money, it comes to your mind to pay your tithe. So when you make your money, it should come to your mind to save. That being said, once you save, and if you remember from, I think, last week's session where Vanguard Noah, he laid emphasis on the fact that the book, which is in Babylon, says that you should actually pay yourself. You should remove 1/10 of whatever you earn. You should use it to pay yourself. And that payment, you should not use it to buy clothes and buy shoes. You should put it in a trade. So what he's saying is that you should save up first. And whatever you actually save up, you should actually invest. So saving is like a step towards investment or towards owning a business or whatever you want to do, whatever next step you want to take.
All right, thank you so much. So he has just given the right answer. So, but let me relate it to exactly how you put it. So your savings, yes, good, you're already saving and to be doing, but that is not an asset in itself, but it's a prelude to getting an asset. So for now, since you're already saving, keep working towards where you can have enough to actually get an asset. And as Vanguard Weber today gave, of a friend of his that has a viewing center. So to get a viewing center, you might have had to save up to probably 150,000 naira. Then just get a place to rent, get the TV viewing center, the decoder, and everything. So the moment he has invested, that's an investment now from enterprise, and then it begins to generate income for him. So the 7,000, I believe you were listening when is a plus to him. It's an income from an asset. The asset is an investment is all about, or an asset is all about. So let me give you the floor. Vanguard Muyiwa, please, you can go ahead. You can unmute and go.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
So
sir.
yeah, the responses have been given already, but maybe just wanted to corroborate. When you're trying to build finances, there are two steps. Like everybody knows, we have savings and we have investments. And the truth is that investment varies. Also, the purpose for savings also vary, you know. And so when you understand step by step, so savings would give you good money. You'll be able to afford your needs. You're able to do everything you want to do with money. But investment is really what makes anyone wealthy. Savings would not. So except you really make so much, which means you're not even wealthy because of your savings. You're wealthy because of whatever you do, but you still save. So savings, I believe, for young people like everyone on this call, savings give you stability, financial stability. And what that means is that you are stable. When anything unforeseen comes your way, you are not running helter skelter to anyone. When I have financials, I don't pick a call to call anyone. I just go to one of my accounts where I say, okay, I have something there. Let me just go and take something. That's savings. So I'm not rushing to anybody. And that's what I always encourage. First, practice the habit of savings. If my phone gets stolen today and I have to get it down today, I have to go and get it down today. That's stability. Why? Because I have something that can cover up for that. So, however, like I said, there are purpose for saving. So we don't save because we just want to save and keep money there. We save because there's a purpose in mind. So your savings is able to fulfill your purpose if you have saved for it. And like I think Vangatunde mentioned, if you are saving to start up a business, so once it reaches a capital for your business, then go make use of it. If you are saving to buy anything that gives you or that makes you more money, go ahead. I feel in this generation, for every smart mind on this call, a laptop, for instance, is an investment. I don't expect anyone here to buy a laptop and all you do is watch movies with it. If it's not generating wealth in the long term or short term, it's not really fulfilling the purpose. So save first, then you are able to now invest. Because let's say, for instance, you start savings and your very first saving, you go and trade in an investment and something happens in between for yourself. Maybe something get lost, you have to start calling somebody else for money. That may not the picture as somebody serious. But when you're able to save for stability and you think, okay, I think I'm a bit stable now, you can then start investing long or short term. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Giving a broader perspective to everything that has been said. As I've listened, I've learned, and I've also learned something. Have a purpose for saving. It can be for investment purposes, purposes that you have in mind. So I believe Amarachi is settled with all the responses that have been given. These I wanted to throw out, but I don't think we have time for it. So because time is already against us. So I'll just make a few announcements and then we'll take we'll round up. Please, there's a new policy for TVA. You need to always be part of the meetings that we are doing. So it's part of the meeting on weekly basis. That's our village meeting. So anyone who misses the meeting has decided that it's not going to be a member. So it's but in case you, for some reason, can't attend any meeting, then you have to give notice. At least it won't be able to be in attendance. So that covers you. But if without notice you miss a meeting, then it's. And I am sure there are some people who are probably joining us for the first time. Please, in the chat box, please put your name and your phone number. We'd love to still reach out to you. And, for your attending the first time, how was it and all that. So please put your name and your phone number in the chat box so that we can reach out. Now, you're on the call, you're a member, and you didn't use your name to say that your name is not. Maybe you saved your name with scriptive name, not your exact name. Please drop your name in the chat box so that we can be aware that you are part of the meeting, where an attendance is very much as we all respond to new people that are coming to the call. Perhaps you invited someone, you see the person on the call, you can just drop the person's name so we can know the person is here. Just hide the person, tell the person you see the person, let the person know that, yes, I'm seeing you, you are here, I'm happy that you are here. Some of us invited people to join and they are here. So please let them know that you see them there. And drop it yourself as the first timer. We're happy to see your name and celebrate you. I can see Kendi, Babatunde, Joseph, thank you. Okoro, Peace, Ada, thank you. You're welcome. We are happy to have you here. We love you. Coming to the end of the meeting now, there's what we call the TVA. Mantra is our aspirations as an organization, TVA. We believe what we believe, so that's the essence of, putting out the mantra so we can know, keep on, coming together to learn and to have mental transformation. So just read through. I'm going to read it through. You don't need to, so that we'll put it in our minds. And the TVA mantra. At the Vanguard, leadership in every sphere of influence, adequately built and exceptionally equipped to excel in. Dream upward, invent new strategies, and deploy. We have more than enough human and capital resources to equip the next generation of leaders in Nigeria. Large, our dreams shall not die, our visions shall not fade, our strength shall not wane. With God, we are excellent personalities, positional catalysts, bringing order into everything. And so that's our mantra, and I'm sure all of us are seeing. Glad that everyone was able to make the call. Amarachi, that was, your name is not on the call, but someone joining us for the first time so that we can know and take notes. Amarachi is dropping her name. Welcome, Amarachi. Welcome you too. Welcome. Also, I forgot to announce the master class is coming up beginning of this month. So please have it in mind, ending of this month. Please let your friends know, let those you are close to know. It's going to be awesome in the master class. So please, the team is, please let everyone on your contact list know put it on your status, let people you so much. So we have come to the end of today's village meeting. It's so awesome to have had everyone here. We celebrate everyone. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Good evening to everyone.